Are these brands that have made some pretty big investments in first party data strategies, are they still a step ahead of their competition that may have been lagging? How are there going to be branches in the road that they need to, try to foresee as well?
Yeah, it's first party data is never a bad idea. Like there ought to be a t-shirt that we just wear around with that, right? Because data is the new oil, gold, whatever historical comparable you want to push in there, which means your data should be owned, operated, managed, and leveraged to the best of your ability. So the rush to first party data is long overdue, though I think many companies have actually been there pretty effectively for a while. The reason I think those that haven't dug into first party data are a little behind is because there was this additional availability of third party data. And that's the data set and the data availability that's likely to go away. If you look at some of the dialogue that Google's engaged with around the functionality of the privacy sandbox, which is going to be their primary mechanism for doing first party advertising without a cookie, they've basically said, hey, things like first party retargeting, where you look at what someone did on your website and then you show them ads based on that first party data on another website, we're going to allow that. We think that's a fine use case. It doesn't really involve cross-site tracking much. We're going to do that in a much more private way. We're not going to allow that data to be exposed out through the cookie into the broader internet. Only trusted vendors are going to be able to access it. But basically, that's going to work. Other types of marketing that are much more reliant on what looks like third-party data, such as constructing an audience, say of people who intend to buy a sweater, by looking at people who looked at sweaters on X.com, Y.com, Z.com, J.com, that's cross-site tracking, that's cross-site audience creation. Google has specifically said we're not going to support that in Privacy Sandbox. So for users who retain a cookie, you might still be able to do that. For a lot of users, you won't be able to. So you're going to have to get away not only from third-party data, but from some third-party marketing mechanisms. And I think that's going to be real interesting how marketers choose to respond to that when the time comes.